Now we're going to talk a little bit about curriculum mapping. I know this isn't new to many people. We're going to talk about it today basically through the framework of a professional learning community. This work is really, the foundation of this work is really on making sure our curriculum is viable and making sure our curriculum is guaranteed. I like the illustration here in the first bullet where it talks about if auditors ask each teacher in your grade level or each teacher in your department what is important for students to learn, would your answers match, right? Would everybody in your department say the same thing? Would everybody in your grade level say the same thing? And I think by going through this curriculum mapping process, the answer would be yes to that. We really want to make sure our curriculum is viable in the sense of we're able to teach that curriculum in the amount of time given. We know with California standards, just looking at those, living with those for many years now, it wasn't viable, right? We couldn't give each standard justice. Now with the Common Core, I think there's a high potential of being able to create a viable curriculum, giving the standards the necessary time and justice that they deserve. Next thing is really making sure that it's guaranteed, right? It shouldn't matter what teacher your child gets in terms of access to curriculum, right? So regardless, making sure that we have an identified set of ideas or identified set of curriculum maps to follow. We're going to have our different teaching styles. We may not teach it in the exact same order. This is not about producing a lockstep type of system, but it's really about creating windows of time where we're going to agree upon teaching specific ideas or teaching specific content. On this slide, you can really see the core values of a professional learning community or a PLC. One of the things really to highlight here is this bolded bullet, right? A common standards-based curriculum. This is really where that idea of curriculum mapping falls in. You can also see the idea of collaborative teams, right? This work can't get done without high levels of collaboration. Additionally, really looking at shared leadership. This isn't the principal creating maps. This isn't one teacher creating maps or a couple people in the district office creating maps. It's empowering teachers to engage in high levels of collaboration around the curriculum and content that they are responsible for teaching to all students. Here you can see the critical questions or the essential questions of a professional learning community. So when curriculum mapping with others in your department or grade level, these are some definite questions to consider. One is really looking at what do we expect students to learn, right? How do we know when they've learned it? How will we respond when they don't learn? And then also, how will we respond when they already know it? So now we're going to talk a little bit about how do we create that guaranteed and viable curriculum. We're going to do so looking at the example of writing workshop. Some of the things that you want to do, of course, is gather your resources, Common Core standards, units to study the actual books, units to study the PDF files, some other units to study that you may have. So District 75, that's actually a district within New York. They have units to study published on a website. We've used those in the past. Some past curriculum maps, right? Things that you and your grade level or department have used. And then also looking at student assessment data. So after you've gathered all of those resources, really thinking about what is the template that we're going to use to map out our curriculum. And one thing to really think about is when we think about the Common Core, right? And when we think about kind of this idea of these collaborative teams identifying how they're going to map curriculum or how they're going to teach the content that they're responsible for the entire year, really looking at the Common Core standards, that's our curriculum. Writing workshop here, that's the vehicle in which to teach the curriculum. We have to teach everything in the Common Core. And the methodology that's agreed upon here is writing workshop in this specific example. So really framing it that way. The other thing that this really pushes into is this idea that teaching is public. This is a way to really make sure that our curriculum is transparent, right? This could be shared even with parents. This could be shared with the principal. This could be shared with other grade levels and departments. This type of public mapping of our curriculum, these commitments between our grade level and department are essential. The other thing when looking at our curriculum map, right, is again, I'm going to kind of do a repeat of before. This isn't about creating a lockstep. We aren't going to say day one, we're going to do this, day two, we're going to do that. We're talking about creating windows of time in which teachers will teach a given set of standards or given content. The other thing that we also have to talk about here is, of course, money. right? How do we map curriculum? Of course, this is going to cost money, and we're looking at it in terms of teacher time. So there's a couple ways when building your professional development budget to look at this. One, you can look at the substitute rate, which is $115. So if grade levels or departments want to be subbed out and actually create the curriculum that way, that's one option. Another way you can do this is by taking a look at what is the workshop rate. So using the workshop rate, that's 38 currently per hour per teacher, and then how many hours would it take to map curriculum. And so obviously multiplying the number of hours by number of teachers. So those are some things to take into consideration when you're mapping curriculum. Another thing to take into consideration when mapping curriculum is thinking about if your school is electing to have some sort of professional developer support, staff developer to come in and support you. That may be another opportunity for that staff developer to collaborate with grade levels, to collaborate with departments on curriculum mapping. I hope this has answered or given you a brief overview of curriculum mapping. Thank you.